Welcome to the Genesis Healthcare Podcast, where we go beyond the traditional office visit to explore what it truly means to live with optimal health. Each episode brings you candid conversations with our Genesis providers and featured guests from across the health and wellness space, covering everything from primary care and prevention to aesthetics and lifestyle optimization. Whether you're ready to take control of your health through a Genesis membership or explore treatment options to look and feel your best, we're here to guide you every step of the way. Ready to begin your journey to better? Visit thegenesisdifference.com to schedule your first appointment or aesthetic consult today.
So, welcome Dana Skaggs. Dana, you and we've known each other for a long time.
A long time.
We were somewhat raised together by the Skaggs family and Westminster Church,
Yeah.
and raised kids together. And,
We did.
Fought a little bit together in swimming pools, and I told you I was going to say it.
Yeah, ball hog.
Yes, I am. But Dana's a fantastic person, a fantastic counselor for sure. You have impacted a lot of lives, and we are going to be talking today about fasting and the impact of fasting on the psyche, psychological impacts of fasting. So anyway,
Nice.
Introduce yourself, and we'll get into it.
Wow. So I have a master's in clinical psychology. I've had a private practice for 18 years. I have a podcast of my own called Phoenix and Flame. I started hearing a lot of people in my office that were saying, I just feel so alone. They would explain their struggles and they would say, I just feel like I'm the only one struggling with this. But because of confidentiality and other things, I couldn't tell them, no, you're actually not. So it was right before COVID that I started putting together and learning what a podcast was and put this together so that I could put stories out. And since my podcast is called Phoenix and Flame, three things are interesting to me. One, what was the flame that burnt you to the ground? What was that? Number two, what did it feel like to sit in the pile of ash, not knowing what was going to happen? And number three, what was it that helped you to rise like a phoenix from that ash pile? So that people that are listening, people that are watching, they might be sitting in their ash pile. They might be actively burning right now with something that burnt you. And we can encourage them because they can listen to your story and think, oh my gosh, that's amazing. She went through or he went through the exact same thing I'm experiencing right now.
Right.
This is what happened. So I put together the podcast, and now I'm doing a speaking business of trying to help high performers not burn out by using boundaries.
Fantastic.
So that's it.
So you're basically putting a community online and that people can actually go to and feel comfort from their own home. So that's really awesome. So,
Yeah.
All right. Well, like I said, you've been a friend of mine for a long time, and the family's doing well. We talked about that earlier, and so that's fantastic. So anyway, let's get into fasting and the psychology associated with fasting and reasons for it. So do you have any input on what we should do from a fasting standpoint to start off, and we'll just start talking about it?
Yeah. Well, I'm coming at this from two different angles. One is I experienced fasting twice myself. I was told that I had a pituitary adenoma in 2017. Went through the MRI, all that horrible stuff. And I was going to have to go to Vanderbilt to have a team of a neurosurgeon and an ENT team together to get it out. But I was told that the adenoma was wrapped around my carotid and they would not be able to get it all. That the consistency of the adenoma was like toothpaste.
Okay.
And they would not be able to get it all, which means I would have to keep going for MRIs and I would have to possibly have more surgery in the future. And that wasn't sounding like a good plan to me, Joe. So out of the blue, which not really is out of the blue, it was a God thing. One of my friends that lives in Atlanta, she's a physical therapist, and all of a sudden she calls me, and we don't talk on the phone. I mean, years will go by with no communication. She all of a sudden calls me and says, have you watched the fasting video? And I'm like, no, what's that? And she says, just watch it. I was riveted and stunned at all of the things that happen in our body and how these cells that are either cancerous or dysfunctional in some kind of way in our body feed off of the glucose. And so I thought, okay, so for 5 days, all I had, and I was working this whole time. It's not like I was sitting around at the house. I was going to work. I was seeing patients. For 5 days, I had for breakfast a cup of chicken broth. For lunch, I had a cup of low sodium V8. And then for supper, I had, again, 1 cup of chicken broth. And that's it for 5 days in a row. Mm-hmm. First of all, I want to tell you, about day 3...
Chicken broth's not that good anyway.
You start realizing how many food commercials are on television. Yeah. I didn't realize that before. But when you start getting down to ketosis and everything, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I literally had to walk out of the living room and go upstairs. I couldn't even watch TV because every other commercial was about food and I couldn't stand it.
Have it your way right away.
Oh my God. Yeah. But here's the thing. I did that for 5 days in a row. Mm-hmm. And when I went to have my surgery in Vanderbilt, they got it all because it had retracted.
Awesome.
Just from 5 days of fasting, when they had told me before there's no way they could get it all because it was wrapped around my carotid, 5 days of fasting, they got it all.
Well, praise the Lord.
So, and I did five days at another time. You got psychologically being kind of careful about that because I think I kind of gave myself a little bit of PTSD because the second time I can't even smell chicken broth to this day. I mean, it's just, I mean, it was bad. But looking at it also from an emotional standpoint, because I was thinking about this earlier, when you're fasting, the important point, the point of agency, the point of power is in the beginning when you're making your choice. I'm either going to do this or I'm not going to do this. You have to make that decision in the beginning. You have to line up all your variables, line up all your factors. And it reminded me similarly to when someone is going to set boundaries with someone. The PowerPoint is in the very beginning when you're assessing the whole dynamics and you're looking at all what's going on and what if I set this boundary, what's going to happen, what are they going to say, how am I going to feel when they push back.
Your pain points.
Yes, all of the pain points. And if I set this boundary, can I be consistent with it? That's the part of power because what I teach my patients is once you make that decision and the decision is made and you seek out counsel from good friends that you trust. You seek out counsel from your primary care, from therapists, so that you know that it's not just your brain processing it. You've reached out to very wise people so that you feel comfortable that you've made a good, strong, healthy decision. And then once you make that decision, then in terms of the boundaries, you are setting them consistently. So at that point, when people push back, and they will.
Oh, really?
I know. It's a surprise. But when they push back, you can be consistent. You
Sure.
can just be consistent because you've made the decision. Same thing with fasting. In the beginning, you have to decide what's the scenario? What's going on here? What's going on health-wise? What am I going to do? Am I going to like it? Can I do it? And then when you make that decision, though, that is huge because then moving forward, what it does is it takes away all the food noise.
Yes.
You're not trying to figure out, well, should I eat this snack? Should I not eat this snack? I really want this snack, but I'm not hungry. All the food voices that are in people's heads all the time. Mm-hmm. When you made that decision for fasting, if you've made the decision, I'm going to do this for the next 5 days, then for the next 5 days, there's no question.
Yes.
And it cuts out all of that that you have to constantly deal with multiple times every day because you've made the decision.
At least helps a lot. Mm-hmm. You might still have a little noise at first,
but you've made the decision.
But you've made the decision, right? I fully agree, and I think that a lot of people feel food more than need food. Don't you? I mean, like from a psychological standpoint, I mean, it's ingrained in us. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and I have to do that as soon as I wake up, and then I have to start snacking all day, and I have to do this, and I have to do this, and I think it's just we have been trained here more than really here
yes.
About food. And that's why you said there's so many commercials about fueling yourself.
What to eat, how to eat it, and when to eat it.
Yeah, you have it your way, right away. That's scriptural, right? It's your way, right away.
I remember reading that.
Yeah, that's right. So, I look at it and I go, wow, like we have like zero control of our flesh when it comes to eating. It's like you don't have any control if you start your day with a Pop-Tart or a bowl of oatmeal, and I'd like to talk a little bit about like let's say, like, have you seen an increase in ADD or childhood conditions psychologically? You may not see as many kids, but you see the abundance and overuse of ADD medications, and really the stimulant that they really need is to stop stimulating their glucose first thing in the morning. You give I make the analogy of, we're just big kids. You give a kid a Pop-Tart at 8 o'clock in the morning and see how he's going to act at 9 o'clock, right? He's going to be like, right? So have you seen that just culturally as far as our foods and everything like that, or in even your practice as far as nutrition is concerned?
I do ask the question about nutrition. Every time I take a patient through a clinical interview, that is one of my questions. It's like, tell me what you're putting in your body. Because psychologically, that's going to tell me a lot about, are they wanting to take care of themselves? Are they eating a lot of junk food? Are they eating a lot of sugar? Are they eating more than they need to? Or are they eating a lot less than they need to? Because it's very closely tied to our self-value, our self-worth. How we treat food in our body is an indication. It's a manifestation of our health and how we view ourselves and our strength and our ego as a person, our ego strength. And so if you have someone they're just eating a lot of junk, and to be honest, Joe, life is hard and there's so much going on. I mean, people are running around like crazy. They're like, Dana, I live out of my van, right? And I remember those days where you like, who has time to sit down and make a big meal where everyone sits down like Norman Rockwell and we're like, hey, how was your day? What happened to you today while we're eating? Who do you know? I mean,
While the father's smoking a cigarette.
Yeah, it's like, what happened?
It's the 1950s.
Hey, Joey, how was your class? I mean, that's not life these days. People are running. Their children are involved in multiple activities. They have multiple kids. Each child is involved in multiple activities. And so time. So then you work in food. How are you going to fuel yourself and your kids? You do it through drive-thrus, and you do it on. And so I sit and work with my patients on, okay, I get you. I have to meet you exactly where you live. We can't act like you have 2 hours to cook a lovely meal with all the accoutrement. No, all right, nobody does that. So you have to be real. And so I thought, okay, can you put like a little mini cooler in your car? I said, do you like Baby Bell cheese? Can you put some fruit in there? What about, raisins? Although I like fresh fruit better. Nuts, anything like that. Can you just keep it in your car where you can like grab and snack, but it's good stuff. It's organic, real food. It's not something that you're grabbing that's been fried and put through all kinds of stuff. So you got to meet people where they really are.
Or ballpark hot dogs.
What's in hot dogs? Really? I don't even want to think about that.
I think that's for another podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, and I do think that the convenience. When you and I were growing up, what was a convenience store? It was kind of a grocery convenience gas station. It was a true. It was convenient, but it wasn't open on Sundays. Wasn't open after 7 o'clock. It wasn't something you could drive by and just grab something. And we didn't have the same resources financially that we do now. People have the actual ability to go and get it. So I do think that access and having the ability to have it our way right away is so much easier for us to just drive in, grab something, and go. And so when you do that over and over, it's kind of like it really starts messing with your physical body, then the spiritual body, then the psychological. All of it is all the same, or all gets a detriment to your overall health, pretty much. So I look at fasting, though, in several different ways. So from a fasting standpoint, I like to talk about, all right, let's just fast from sugars. Let's start your day with heavy protein, like eat some eggs and eat maybe some beef and eggs, beef bone broth. I'm not a big chicken fan, and I don't raise chickens. I raise beef. So, I'm going to say beef bone broth with some eggs, mineral salt, water, olive oils, healthy fats, healthy proteins, and no carbohydrates first meal. And I said, that's fasting from carbohydrates. Because if you carbohydrate up, then you're going to crash, and when your body's blood sugar crashes, then you mentally feel like, a little jittery, and you need to go eat. The food noise comes around again.
Well, okay. Two things come to mind as you're talking about that. One of them is, you mentioned earlier about how we don't pay attention to hunger. And so I think sometimes we're thinking, okay, these are all the things that I need to eat, even though I'm not really hungry. I'm going to eat all these things. And so I think that's interesting to pay attention to as well. It's like, are you actually, you mentioned earlier, breakfast. Some people maybe are not, and you're looking at it from a medical standpoint. I'm looking at it from a psychological standpoint. Maybe someone isn't hungry until 11 or 12 o'clock, right? Yeah. Then if they're sitting down at the big old, protein bowl, right, at 8 o'clock, they're not hungry for that. And so I like the idea, and you mentioned it earlier about training, and it's a real train to try to train ourselves how to wait until we're actually hungry. And that is, it shouldn't be odd, but it is, because we don't let ourselves get hungry.
No.
It's time to eat lunch. It's time to eat breakfast. It's time to eat dinner. It's time for the snack. It's time to have this and this and this. And so we're so busy putting food in, we never let ourselves, we don't give our bodies a chance to actually be hungry. We don't even know what that feels like. What does it feel like? Hashtag first world problems, right?
Yeah, right.
We don't know what it feels like. And so letting ourselves not eat, do something else, which brings me to my next point, is that, just to be honest, Joe, when I'm having a hard day and I'm frustrated and I'm annoyed, which I know it's hard to imagine.
That doesn't happen to you.
I know.
I've never seen that.
That's hard to imagine. But when I'm irritated and I'm frustrated and I want to throw things and set things on fire, right? I really am not finding myself yearning for a beef jerky. I don't want beef jerky, right? I want, at that moment, I get up, I literally will get out of my chair at my office, and I'm thinking, in my brain, and I'm aware of it at least, and sometimes I'm successful, sometimes I'm not, but I'm wanting something to make all this feel better. I'm feeling really, I call it the ick, like my professional terminology.
Yeah, I like it.
Yep.
I like it.
I call it the ick. And I'm feeling the ick at that moment. And I'm feeling just kind of stressed and maybe discouraged and angry and all the things. And I want all that to go away, Joe. So I'm thinking, what can I grab? What can I grab? And I start pacing around, and I think, maybe if I have a Starburst, maybe if I have, and I find myself wanting to grab things that are
comforting,
carby, that are sugary, that are sweet. And I know this about myself, so at least it's like a little one Starburst instead of a whole big bunch of stuff. But at that moment, it's hard. And I don't know if it's more for females than males, but when we're feeling that emotionally, we don't want to go grab a big piece of beef.
No. I think some of that could be even the dopamine hit that you're looking for, when you're having the blah, blah, blah. And it's a comfort mechanism, and it's like, okay, you actually need a little help here, and I think, if you were smoking a cigarette, a dopamine hit would be a cigarette smoke.
Right.
I mean, you'd want a cigarette, right? Or a dip of the skull, or, whatever
Yeah,
whatever your
whatever
go-to,
yeah.
or I need my Zen, or whatever that may be.
Yeah.
It's I need that hit right now. So you go after Starburst, which is going to hit the dopamine. So, but it's so true, because there's times where I'll go, hey, Trish, I want to go to Sam's tonight.
Yeah.
I want a calzone and a beer.
That, you see, and it because we're all tied together. You mentioned earlier about how we're a whole, we're mental, we're spiritual, we're emotional, we're physical. It's all tied together. And so I think we have to acknowledge these things and be real about it with people. Otherwise, they're going to listen and say, yeah, well, that's how I listen to people. When I'm listening to someone, they might be presenting some stellar information.
Yeah.
Research backed stellar information. But I'm sitting there going, yeah, but that's not real life.
That's not real life.
That's not real life. You're standing up there on a stage or wherever you're talking and great information. But when I walk out of here in my real life, that's going to be crap.
Yeah.
That's not going to work. So that's why I like what we do, is because we meet people where they really are. Yeah, and we know what it feels like. We meet people where they are, and we try to say, this is the stuff, whether it's emotional, where I come from, psychological, whether it's, the medical, the physical, where you're coming from, meeting people where they are and saying, this is the real experience, and this is what we need to do to get better. How can we do that? Like, I like to help people take smaller bites, and so they don't get so overwhelmed, and looking at it psychologically. Sure. How can we do it in small steps?
Well, and that's when you mention, breakfast at 8:00 in the morning. Breakfast sometimes for me is 7:00 at night.
Okay.
Maybe my first meal. So I say the small step for most people when I start discussing starting a fast, I don't say you need a 3-day fast right now, because it's going to smack you in the face.
Yeah.
And it's going to be really hard when you've eaten
big.
3 carbohydrate meals all day, and you're going to go, What I try to walk people into is, let's start with a protein first meal. Protein, fat, healthy fat, and first meal. Whatever that first meal is. And then once you do that part, then you can start doing the intermittent fasting. And then you can get into, okay, well, let's now do a 24-hour fast. And so tonight you're going to eat at 8:00. And tomorrow you will eat at 8:00. You still ate both days, and it's all the first meal, heavy protein and fat, but you fasted throughout the day and got a full 24-hour fast. But you don't do that immediately after coming off of, Hardee's biscuits and gravy at 7:00, and then, whichever fast food throughout the day, and carbohydrate at night, and midnight snack, and you do that and do a 24-hour fast, you're going to be hurting here, right? Because the food noise really gets real. And I'd like for you to speak a little bit about the food noise. It's kind of, we if we train our body to get off of the fasting, like from carbs, let's just talk about carbs, so we kind of get rid of the desire or drop of blood sugar that creates a little food noise to need that again. And we got to a little bit of the dopamine hit that we're maybe searching for after a bad day, which is, pop a top off a beer, or grab a, cheesy fry on the way home, or whatever.
Yeah.
But
something to make us feel better.
Yeah, it's a comfort food. But as far as like from a psychological standpoint, let's talk about the food noise a little bit, and how that affects even your clinic or your patients.
Yeah, I mean, food noise is a big deal, but what we were saying earlier about allowing ourselves to wait until we actually feel hunger. The food noise comes way before then, and also trying to meet emotional needs with food. And so that's hard for those of us. And so what I like to do is I have a platform, kind of a concept called becoming the CEO of your mental boardroom. And I like to help people use internal family systems and imagining a boardroom, seeing the shiny table, seeing the cushy seats up the side, and then there's that position, the CEO position at the head of the table. Well, if you are the CEO of your mental boardroom, you have parts of you in the boardroom with you. And those parts, when we're going through a really hard time, those parts are sending us messages like, I need some sugar. That's going to fix everything for me. That's going to make me feel a little better if I just can eat a Starburst, if I can have a little Snickers mini, if I can do something like that. So what I try to do is help people understand whether it's food noise or something else, some other message like a people-pleasing message or something like that, or imposter syndrome or inner critic, fill in the blank. We have a lot of them.
Yes.
Is that as you imagine yourself sitting in the CEO chair and looking down and seeing that part of you that's going, we need sugar, we can't do this without sugar. It's going to be terrible if we don't have some sugar. Looking at that part of you and trying to find a way to manage that part, hearing that part, accepting that part, because it is a part of you, but not letting it shove you out of the CEO chair and take over. So there's lots of different ways of managing. And if you can envision it, it can be so, because that emotional part of our brain, the amygdala, the hippocampus, that area doesn't respond nearly as well to logic and words as it does to visual stimulation. So you can imagine, what would you do if you had a part that was like, oh, we have to have sugar, we have to have sugar. You can imagine that part maybe goes into a corner full of candy or something in the boardroom. Have at it, right? Or you can imagine that you take some tape and just put it over that.
That's what I want to do.
There's one person that I talked
quiet.
to. He imagined that every seat at his boardroom table had a trap door underneath it, and he had a lever beside him. And if one of his parts got a little chippy, got too loud, and was annoying him and was frustrating him, and he felt like that part was trying to encourage him to do something that he knew wasn't healthy, he would look down the table at that part, and he would put his hand on the lever and he'd pull it, and the trap door would open, and that part and his chair and everything would go whoosh right down the chute. And so for a while,
007.
for a while there, he didn't hear that message anymore. And so from a psychological standpoint, that is something that I try to train my patients to learn how to do. And it takes a minute to create the visualization and get adept with the management of what does each part need?
Right.
What can I do? But that is something that we can possibly manage those voices so that we don't reach for the food when we're actually not hungry.
That's interesting. I like to, when I first meet somebody and I ask their goals, what are your health goals? What do you want from me? One of the things I'll ask them is I say, well, we're going to do some blood work today, but I would like for you to write me a food journal. And so I think a lot of, what you're talking about with putting a boardroom together and saying, you're not allowed, here's a trap door, by writing things down also and seeing it, I think people really get an idea of how cluttered their boardroom really is, and how many times when we get back together, I'm like, well, that's a really healthy choice associated with something that really kind of messed up that healthy choice. So if we just put this over here, that kind of tidies up that guy's seat and doesn't put, it doesn't look like Pigpen, right? At his board, at his seat at the table. So I do think that, writing things down helps tremendously, that food noise and our ability to overcome things, because we actually do get to see it. So, and there's studies out that say that if you write down your food, you'll actually lose 10% of your body weight.
Because you're aware of what you're actually putting in your mouth.
You can't lie to your pen, right? Well, you can, but yeah, it is kind of funny. I'm like, that's all you ate? Grilled chicken and broccoli?
They're like, that's not what the scale is saying.
And your blood sugar looks like this. That's impossible. So anyway, but it is kind of funny how our brain does control a lot of our decisions from a food standpoint, and a true, real, do we really need this, or do we really just desire or feel this? And
we can know that. We can know that we don't need it.
Yeah.
Like when I'm having that moment at work, I know darn well I don't need that, but I want it really bad. And I feel like that's going to help me feel a lot better. And if I don't do that, then and so in some ways, giving someone something else. I remember when I used to work on rehab, Quillen rehab, and it was sort of like you wouldn't take away if someone was using a rolling walker to walk down the hallway because they'd had an injury, you wouldn't take that away from them unless you had something else they could hold on to.
Sure.
Right. And so because they're not able-bodied yet. And so that's what I think of in terms of this. You take this away, but give them something else. So like somebody might want to walk outside. Being outside and smelling the air and feeling the breeze on your face, and maybe taking a quick walk around, just taking some deep breaths. Sometimes that helps. Mm-hmm. Sometimes if you're an avid book lover, having a book handy that you really enjoy, maybe a funny book or something that's very riveting to you intellectually, say, okay, what I suggest is say to yourself, take 10 minutes, if you have 10 minutes to spare, okay, take 10 minutes and sit down and do this other thing. Whether it's walking around your office building, outside if you can, whether it's opening up a book and reading it, whether, whatever the case, listening to some music, do something else for 10 minutes. And then after that, and this is kind of part of EXRP, which is used with OCD, exposure and response prevention. So we're not saying you can't do it. Right. We're not saying you can't have that food. What I'm saying is do something to prevent that response for a period of time. And then I like for people to use a scale of 1 to 10. Like 7 to 10, I call it the red zone. That's like, I need it really bad, right? So if you're a 7 to 10, have at it. Mm-hmm. No guilt, go get it. But if you reevaluate your desire, your pain point to want that thing, and you're like, well, I'm about a 4, then okay, you feel it, but you're about a 4. You're not gonna. But so what you need to do is once you feel that desire, create something else to do to distract yourself for about 10 minutes or so. If you can for 15 or 20, that's even better. And then after that period of time, reevaluate. Go 1 to 10. How much do I want that thing? How much do I want that food? If you're still 7 to 10, then go eat it. Have at it. But if you're like a 5 or 6, you know what I'm saying? Okay, yeah, you want it, but not that bad. Right. So you brought it down. So that's very helpful as well.
Well, and it's the addiction. Mm. When you were talking about that, I was thinking, well, that's what we used to do with cigarette smokers. It was when you felt like you needed to go smoke a cigarette, set a timer and smoke it 2 minutes later. Mm-hmm. And then the next one, you go 2 minutes later.
Yep.
And 2 minutes before long, you've lessened 2 or 3 cigarettes that day. And then the next day, you set a timer. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go smoke a cigarette. No, you set a timer. Or you say, well, I'll smoke that cigarette in 15 minutes. I'll smoke it in 30 minutes. So but it's also hitting that same dopamine center. It's hitting the happy center. But when you do something like you're saying,
you're
do
just
something
delaying
to hit it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So delayed gratification.
Because if you tell somebody you can't have it, they're going to want it 10 times more. Mm-hmm. They're like, don't you tell me I can't have it, right? Then you want it more. Uh-huh. But if you say you can have it, just hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Let's just go do something else for a couple minutes first. Then you can have it.
Yeah.
And then that's why I like to have people reevaluate where they are on that 1 to 10 pain scale, because, be aware of how much you're wanting it. And truly, if you are 7 to 10, then go get it. Don't feel guilty about it. Don't feel bad about it. Don't feel shame. Just go get it. Because you've already delayed. That was what you wanted to do. But if you reevaluate yourself and you're a 4, 5, 6, then go do something else. You're feeling it, but it's not that bad.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic. I think you and I we know each other pretty well, and that I love to coach to perfection. Like I'm going to try and teach you like the perfect playbook, but I don't expect it to be perfect. I expect us to make mistakes along the way, but here is what our objective is. Here's some opportunities for successors along the way to obtain this goal. Mm-hmm. And so you look at it and go, okay, let's start with this meal. Let's just start with this meal. Let's do this. Well, I don't like that. Okay, what do you like? Mm-hmm. All right, let's start with what do you like and what can you choke down? Because when I start talking about, I just drink you a carton of Bovmarth, I'm like, or people would say, really? I don't want bone broth.
It's like, I'm not feeling that.
Yeah, right. So you do have to kind of meet their needs a little bit from a nutritional standpoint. But sometimes it getting into longer fasting is something that I've really been able to help myself and others with it because of the things that I've done for myself. And like during the day, when I'm working, I don't eat anything until I get home. And most of that is because I don't want to be digesting and using my energy to digest food and taking away from my brain. Right. So I literally do an intermittent fast every day that I come to work. So which is like 1 day a week now, right? So, but I love to do the intermittent fast because the mental clarity is there. As soon as I eat, I have to use 100% of my energy and divert some of that energy to digestion. So that's where people say, well, at about 2:00, I start getting tired after lunch, or I start getting, well, you're having to digest that meal. You're starting to use part of your energy for digestion. So I tell people, and it's a kind of a gross analogy, you go from a sympathetic nervous system to a parasympathetic nervous system. You got fight or flight or sleep, right? Pretty much. So, and when you're sleeping, you're digesting, and digestion it flips when you sleep. So when you are fight or flight and you're thinking and you're moving and you're doing all the things, you're at 100% energy mental capacity, right? So you eat and you take 20% of that for digestion. Well, you got to rob some of that energy to send it over there. So
makes sense.
Yeah. And so some of that, and it's not that simple. There's a lot of other things that are going on, but and if you do that, or if you do say a fast from a carbohydrate, you're not spiking the glucose and needing to digest that either. So,
well, as I'm listening to you describe that, though, I'm thinking of myself and other people that and emotionally, psychologically, they are using, because they look at lunch as a break and they're eating. So that it's almost been classically conditioned. The food has been classically conditioned with this sense of rest, the sense of I get to get away from the work. I get to make, if it's in a scenario where people eat together, food gets classically conditioned with socialization and laughing and, like I said, a break from stress. And so some people are going to hear you say that and they're going to go, well, Joe, that makes sense, but I don't want to give up my lunch because then I'll just be working all day long with no break. And so what do you suggest to them in those instances where they, like most of us, that lunchtime has been the food of it has been classically conditioned with all of these great things?
Yeah. Well, part of that is, I say, figure it out.
That's a bit vague.
Well, it's figure out you. You figure out what makes that so important to you. Is it the food that makes it important? Because typically it's not, right? I mean, I've had the socialization. We all had the socialization of school lunches, and that was not good food.
No. The pizza was interesting.
It was very interesting. But it was not good. It wasn't good fuel. It wasn't good food. But it was great socialization. I mean, we ate cardboard stuff.
But you look forward to lunch, though, because you didn't have to go to class. You got to laugh, you got to hang out. And so I think that's what happens when you suggest that. People think, what, you're telling me that I don't get my lunchtime?
Right. No, it's mandatory to get a break. But what you choose to do with your break is something that you just have to find your dopamine hit.
Yeah.
Your happy place. And a lot of times, I will go back to lunch and if it's a heavy carb lunch and I know that I can't start my day off with carbs, I'll sit and talk and enjoy, and I'll drink some more coffee or have some more water and
while you're watching other people eat carbs.
Absolutely. And I will tell you, that wasn't something that happened overnight.
Okay. Because from a female standpoint, that's sounding like a mountain.
Well, and that's fair, but that's why I also say figure it out.
Yeah.
Because I had to figure out how to stay away from breakfast, because at 9 o'clock I was struggling to stay focused. And so a lot of my figure it out was, okay, well, stay away from carbs at breakfast. Okay, good. Eat a heavy protein. Okay, good. And this is not something I've just all of a sudden epiphany and just gone, woo, I'm doing it. This is something that's happened over a few decades of my life. So I start learning, okay, well, if I do straight eggs with mineral salt and olive oil, healthy fat, heavy protein, then I wouldn't eat until easy supper. And I could bypass a carbohydrate, lunch and or breakfast that would be brought in. So those are things that I just had to learn and deprive myself a little bit of. I don't need that. I'm not hungry. I'm not needing fuel. I've already got fuel on board. And then over the last few years, I've gone into the intermittent fasting part of things. And so I wake up in the morning and I drink 30 some ounces of water. I make another probably 60 ounces of coffee to bring with me. And so, and I tote it with me. I mean, I'm double fisted. And so I bring that with me. And I will say I'm at least 30 ounces of water in the morning. I'll drink one, get in the shower, do my thing, get ready, drink another one, grab my coffee that I've made, bring it over here, drink coffee all day, black, and just go, right? And so I've got hydration, and hydration is actually a lot of why we seek so much food too. Mineralization, demineralization, and filtering of our water. I talk a lot about water, and we're designed to drink out of springs and streams and wells, and we drink out of pipes that are filtered. And all of those springs and streams and wells have minerals in them, ground minerals, and those minerals are very important to the body. And we grab a fuel source like a sugar and think that we're getting calcium and sodium and magnesium that we're supposed to get out of food, and it's not there. And so we have to grab some more, and all we're doing is living on fake energy, which is sugar, instead of actually minerals. And so you drink mineral water and mineral salt, and you're really not hungry. And I'm not a little fella, right? It takes a lot of groceries to fill up 215, right? But I also allow myself freedom. I fast throughout the day, and there are times where Trish and I will have breakfast on maybe Sunday morning or Saturday morning, where we will just fix eggs and mineral salt and maybe a beef from the night before or something like that, and maybe a hamburger patty or something like that, and then we'll just have a social setting for as a husband and wife, and that's the intimacy that I want out of my relationship with my wife. I want to be able to sit and eat with her. Yeah. Right. We were past the stage of minivans and going to ball games. Right. And we don't have grandchildren yet. And I kind of envy you for that. But we don't have grandchildren yet. So I'm not, grabbing and going right now. And a lot of people are going to hear that and go, well, I am. And well, I will tell you, like, I have trained my body to where I don't have to eat, and I can go and I can work physical work on the farm or something like that and not have anything but water. But it's mineral water, mineral salts that I take in all day. And then I drink a lot of water to hydrate me. And then, by having extra, weight on me, my body's constantly eating its own self for energy. And so I put on, take off, put on, take off, put on, take off with weight and fuel. So, if I ate a breakfast in the mornings and went to work at the farm, if my breakfast was carbohydrate filled, I would have to take a break for lunch and have to chase that blood sugar again.
Yeah.
That energy, that dopamine. And it wouldn't be as much dopamine because I would be outdoors and feeling that, but it would be more of, well, my energy's down because I had the carbohydrate that spiked my sugar and now it's crashing and now I need something else. So, but that, in saying that, it has taken me a while to train that. And so it's funny because I take students and the first week that they're here, especially these young girls, those young, small girls, they're like, he doesn't eat. And they're like, I need a snack. And they're like, because I'll work through lunch and they'll go, when's lunch?
Yeah.
Oh, you can go eat whenever you want, as long as you brought it, because I'm going to go see another person. So it's really, but I've trained myself to do those things. I mean, like I said, fasting is not something that you just jump right into.
Right.
You train your body from a neurotransmitter standpoint and training them and saying, hey, dopamine, you can be hit later. You can be hit later. We'll get to it. But some of that is also the busyness of us, right? If I've got a day of patience, people, it doesn't matter if you're hungry. You got people, right?
You don't think about food because you've got things to do.
I mean, yeah, there's times where I'm like, I could really go urinate right now, but you go, I got to go see this person real quick.
You put it off.
Yeah. So, so you could just kind of train your body a little bit in depravity, just deprive it a little bit and gain control over it. And then
see, what you're describing there is distraction.
Yeah.
And see, that's the key, that if something is organically happening because there's so much activity during the day and you can be distracted and you don't think about food, that's great. If it's a scenario when someone doesn't necessarily have a distraction that's happening for them, then they need to create a distraction so that their brain can think about something else other than the food until they can get over that hump.
And that's
5 minute warning.
Yeah, I think a lot of that that's helped me be able to do that. I created busyness throughout my fasting. All right, whether that's fasting here at work or whether that's fasting working on the farm physically, I created a busyness to where I got to get this chore done. If that's bush hogging this whole field, then I'm going to bush hog the whole field. I've got my water with me, but that's what I've got with me. And it's going to be, I create the goal of, I will get my dopamine hit of food once I complete my goal. And I complete a goal, I also feel good about it. And once you feel good, you fasted for a while and it's rested your body, then you get into levels of really some pretty cool stuff. So a lot of what I'm going to talk about in future podcasting and teaching and lectures that I've done is teaching people about the physiologic reasons for the fasting and what actually happens in the body, and then the small intestine and the gut brain axis and all of those things. So if you fast and you really look at a complete, like, you're fasted for 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, all you're taking in is minerals and water, you're really going to see some amazing psychiatric things happen to your body. The ketosis and running on ketones instead of running on glycogen. It really does some really cool stuff.
Yeah, it's psychological too. So to be able to do that and get away from the food commercials.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, anything else you want to talk about?
No, I mean, just tossing out is that, you gave some examples of what you've done. And I think it's just incredible that we get to meet each person, because everyone's going to have males and females, which sometimes there's characteristic differences there. And then within those two gender categories, you have different personality styles, and you have people with different backgrounds who have different, because food is very emotion laden. And so people bring a lot of feelings about food and food connections and food socialization and all this kind of stuff. So there's a lot that's attached. I think if we don't pay attention to that, if we just sit and say, here's the thing, then they're gonna nod and go, that sounds good. Then they're gonna walk out the door and they're not gonna do it because it doesn't meet them where they are with their personality and their history.
Well, and I think that's something wonderful about your practice and mine or ours, is that we actually have the time to actually look people in the eye and say, where are you? Because there's multiple times that people have come in to see you for things that they don't want to talk about.
No.
And it opens up. They've got layers over here that they really want to talk about. And if you don't pay attention to that, if you're sitting there typing on a computer, they feel unheard. And so those are the things that when we are trying to put together a fasting protocol for somebody, or a food journal, or a overall health journey, if all I'm doing is checking boxes and not looking at them, and because multiple times what I was going to say is, how many times has somebody come in to see me or you, and you go, are you okay? And it's waterworks. No, I'm not okay. I really had this. We were going to talk about this, but I just, I had an earache, but I really want to talk about this. And
so when they have priorities like that, they're going to hear you, but because of the energy and effort that it takes to put into developing a fasting protocol, if there's other things that are more pressing, then their brain is not there. They haven't prioritized that. They recognize the importance of it, but they can only prioritize so many things. And so they have to get those things dealt with first.
Yeah. And that's putting together the plan.
Yeah.
And listening to them.
Yes.
Dana, thank you for coming by.
This was great.
Thank you for being a part of our Genesis family and my personal family for decades.
It's been a minute, Joe.
I'm very proud of what you've done and you've accomplished through helping people.
Thank you.
And looking at other people, and that's really cool, and trying to reach. So
that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I know, and I'm proud of you. So keep up the good work.
Thank
you, Dana.
This is great. Thanks, Joe.
Do you mind just telling me how some people can reach you, listen to some of your podcasts? Can you just go ahead and just plug yourself a little bit?
Absolutely. Basically, you just go to Dana Skaggs, DanaSkaggs.com. That has at the top, you can go to the podcast to listen to them. You can read my blogs, which a lot of them are really funny. I mean, you can go to any number of places. You can get coaching. Just go to DanaSkaggs.com and it's all there.
Okay. Very good. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to the Genesis Healthcare Podcast, empowering you to live optimally. Ready to take the next step? Visit thegenesisdifference.com today to learn more.